If you're waiting for the PS6 or the next Xbox and you don't feel the same excitement you had for the PS2 or Xbox 360, it's not nostalgia. It's because the console generation model is collapsing under its own contradictions. The PS5 launched in 2020, and 4 years later, most of its best-selling games are PS4 titles, just running at higher frame rates. The Xbox Series X has no major exclusive that justifies owning it over a Series S or a PC. Console generations used to mean new experiences you couldn't get anywhere else, and now they mean incremental hardware upgrades for the same games you were already playing. That's not a generational leap, that's a mid-cycle refresh being sold as a revolution. Console generations used to be defined by capability gaps you could see and feel. The jump from SNES to N64 meant 2D to 3D. PS1 to PS2 meant DVD playback and games that looked like pre-rendered cutscenes. Xbox 360 to Xbox One meant online integration and HD becoming standard. In the PS4 to PS5, the gap is frame rate and load times. What the happened? And sure, those matter, but they're refinements, not transformations. Most people can't tell the difference between a PS4 game running on PS5 and a native PS5 game unless you pause and zoom in. The hardware got better, but the experience didn't shift in a way that changes how you play. Then there's the business model. Sony and Microsoft spent the last decade training you to expect backwards compatibility and cross-gen releases. That's consumer friendly, but it kills the "you need this now" urgency. Why buy a PS5 at launch when God of War Ragnarok runs on the PS4? Why buy a Series X when every Xbox game is on Game Pass and playable on your old console or even the PC? The exclusives that used to define consoles are disappearing. Sony's putting its games on PC within 2 years. Microsoft puts everything on PC day one. Nintendo's the only company still treating exclusives as a reason to own the hardware, and even then, the Switch 2 reveals the same problem. It's backwards compatible, runs the same games as the original Switch, and its biggest reveal was an upscaled Mario Kart 8 that already exists. The question has changed from what can this do that the old one couldn't, to will this run Tears of the Kingdom at 60 frames per second? Let's talk about game development timelines. In the PS2 era, a studio could ship a major exclusive every 18 to 24 months. And now, AAA games take 5 to 7 years to develop. Talk about GTA 6, right? That means each console generation only gets 1 to 2 major exclusives from each first-party studio before the next generation arrives. The PS5 launched with Demon's Souls, a remake. Its first real exclusive was actually Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart, and that came 6 months later. Spider-Man 2 arrived after 3 years. The showcase titles that used to arrive in year 1 now arrive in year 3 or 4, and by which time the console already feels old and there are already rumors of the next one circulating. Meanwhile, the hardware itself stopped being, exotic. The PS3 had the cell processor. Developers hated it, but it was undeniably unique. The PS5 is what I might call a mid-range PC with a custom SSD, and the Switch 2, that is a tablet with better specs. That's good for developers, alright, but it kills the mystique. There's no only possible on this console anymore, because the architecture is standard. When you buy a new console now, you're not buying access to a new generation of games. Here's what you're buying. You're buying faster load times for games you already own, higher frame rates and resolution on cross-gen titles, the promise that in 2 to 3 years, exclusives will start arriving, and you're buying a $500 to $700 device that does 80% of what your last console did, just slightly better. Unless you're a frame rate purist or you skip the last generation entirely, the value proposition is whack. The PS5 Pro at $700 proves this. Sony's pitch was, the games you're already playing, but slightly prettier. And the Switch 2's pitch is also the same. Your current library, but smoother. Those are very tough sells when the base models still work fine. Compare that to the leap from PS1 to PS2. You got DVD playback, controller with analog pressure sensitivity, graphics that looked generationally better, and a library of games that redefined what console gaming could be, all within the first 18 months. The The PS5 is 4 years in, they're still coasting on cross-gen releases and their remakes. The Switch 2 is bringing the same strategy Nintendo used in 2017, just with more power. If new consoles feel less exciting, it's because the model that made them exciting doesn't work anymore. Let me ask you, what was the last console that you felt was actually worth buying at launch? Let me know in the comments. For me, it was the Nintendo 3DS XL. Now, this channel talks about consumer tech and how you can save $1, so go ahead, share it with someone who's still deciding whether to upgrade their old console. I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Toodaloos!